Hey Burnout Crew, welcome back to the Burnout Block. As you've seen by the thumbnail, today we're going to be doing the gauge cluster swap finally on the G6. Now this has been on the shelf for probably a year at least. I ordered this a long time ago expecting to do it, but I didn't want to go through the whole interior swap with the gauge cluster, the steering wheel controls, the radio, the HVAC system, all of that. I would have had to swap all of that to the 2010 models for everything to work correctly. So I've been holding off until I got another daily driver. Now, since we have the Q50, I feel comfortable putting this in to the G6 now because we're going to lose cruise control. And I didn't want to lose cruise control while I was still daily driving the G6. Now speaking of the Q50, everything's been going good with that. I actually just ordered a power stop brake kit just like we have on the G6. I ordered for that. Now I did not go and buy the powder coated red calipers. I'm just going to paint them myself, mainly because it was going to be like another $400 for the same factory calipers just painted red, which seemed like a waste of money. Also because the dealership we bought it from just did the 70,000 mile brake fluid flush, and I didn't want to replace fluid that was just put in there. It seemed like a waste. So, but I went ahead and got that. Drilled slotted rotors, carbon ceramic pads, just like on the G6, so it'll stop on a dime. I'm really excited about that. We got the new Continental tires put on. So as you can see here, we got our nice new Continental tires. Filled in a little bit more on the front here, still a little bit of the wheel exposed, but not as much as the 225s. These are 245/35s on here. They fit pretty well. Then on the back you can see you still got a nice meaty setup back here. Really good fitment. These are 275/35s. These are the Extreme Contact DWS 06s. These are an all-season tire, but they're very high performing. They're really grippy actually. For an all-season tire, these are extremely grippy, and I like these a lot. Wheels are looking clean, car's looking clean. I'm really happy with the Q50. Now I know a couple of you were worried that because we got the Q50 we weren't going to be doing any more G6 content, but don't worry, the G6 is still the project car. We're still going to be making equal amounts of Q50 content as well as G6 content. I also plan on taking both cars to Kill Care pretty soon. I'd like to know what numbers the Q50 puts down before we tune it and do a heat exchanger, and then after we do all that, seeing what numbers it runs afterwards. I'm going to say it runs somewhere about a 13 to 13 and a half. It could be a little bit faster because it's not stock. I think the stock time is a 13 and a half, so it'll be something in that ballpark. But I'm pretty excited to see what it runs. So here's the gauge cluster we're going to be swapping in today. As you can see, it's a 2010 gauge cluster. A little bit different letters, different face. I think it's got white backlighting, but I think it'll look pretty cool. Like I said, we're going to lose cruise control, but I think it'll look pretty cool and it will help update the interior. So let's go ahead and get started. Here we are on the inside of the G6. This is what the factory one looks like for the 2008 model year for the GTs. Pretty bland, but not too bad, but I'd like to get it updated a little bit. So to start, we're going to take our T15 Torx bit, and there's two little holes right here and right here. And we're going to undo both of those. Then we'll be able to take this shroud here and pull it out. Alright, so as you can see, I got this popped out. Pop around the trim, pop off the top of the steering wheel right here, and this comes right on out as one piece. And then you've got the gauge cluster all exposed here. Now there are 4 7mm screws or bolts. There's one right there, one right down here, a screw down here. It looks like this has been replaced with a screw and not a bolt. There's another one right back up in here, which is a screw as well. So somebody must have been fixing this or something at some point, but get those 4 out, and then you pull it over these tiny little pins up in here. I don't know if you can see that at all. It's little triangle pieces. You have to push the dash up and pull this out to disconnect it. Okay, so we got all those screws out. I will say this is probably going to be the most difficult part, is getting those screws out. If you're fat-fingered like me, it's kind of hard to get in there. What was nice though is that the previous person to work on this put like grease or gel or something on the end of these screws, the ones on the top that were hard to reach, so you can just stick it on the end of your finger and screw it in. So thank you to whoever worked on this car last, because that made it so much easier. So now with this, you see this is loose now. flip forward here, and there's these little things, kind of hard to see. There's these little things blocking the gauge from coming out right there. Kind of hard to see because it's dark, but there's these little triangle pieces that you have to push up and pull out with. So hopefully I can get the camera steady here. Grab here, push up a little bit. These two pop out on each side. There's one. And there's two. As you can see, pull it right out. Now, with this out, you can see we've got the back of it here. We just got to pop this clip off. There's a white bottom piece. Kind of hard to see here. There's this little white bottom piece on it. If I can get there. I don't know if the camera can see that. With that little white pin, you push out and you're able to pull the plug out. So if you flip the cluster down with the top back into the dash, you can see the little white pin I'm talking about. And you just gotta pull, if I get my hand in here, this point right here, pull that up and it should be able to pull out and disconnect. You're supposed to use a pocket screwdriver. I'm going to use needle nose pliers because I have chunky hands, like I said. I'm just trying to get my hands in there to undo that. So I'm going to do that real quick. So as you can see, we got the pin off. I did end up using a pocket screwdriver as well to get these little pins out. Now we got the gauge cluster taken out. So let's go ahead and swap in the other one. So now we got the new gauge cluster. So if it looks a little hazy, I just cleaned it with glass cleaner so it was nice and clean. We're going to go ahead and hook it up real quick. So now with it hooked back up, we're going to drill it back into place. And I'll show you guys what it looks like. So now, as you can see, we got everything put back together. Got the fascia around the gauge cluster put back on. All the screws put back in place. So let's go ahead and turn it on so you guys can see what it looks like. Much better. So as you can see, it's got a nice white LED front fascia. It's got a info display screen down here, unlike the old one, where it would just pop up on the stereo. As you can see, service tire monitor, because I don't have two PMS sensors, is also popping up here on the gauge cluster, giving me all my warnings as well. So let's go ahead and turn it on. So even though we're in the garage, it's a little bit louder, but you can see the service tire monitor, so it's flashing right there. Fuel gauge is working, RPMs are working, so let's go see if the speedo works. So as you can see, cruising along here, everything seems to be working pretty good. Temperature gauge is working nice and fine. Got our mileage there, even the temperature outside, which is nice to know. It's a hot one out today. I do still plan on doing the exhaust on the G6. I'm just trying to figure out what I want to do to it. You know, the Q50 is pretty loud for a daily driver, but it definitely I've definitely forgotten how loud this thing is, especially with the windows down. But as you can see, everything's working pretty well. Seems to be consistent. Speedo seems to be working pretty well. All the lights seem to work when we are inside. So everything seems to be working pretty well. I gotta say, I love this one a lot more than I did the factory G6 one. The only thing that isn't working right now is the clicking or beeping sound effect for the turn signal. As you can see, it's completely quiet, even when we go the other way. Completely quiet, but other than that, everything seems to be working pretty well. And overall, I'm pretty happy with the new gauge cluster swap. So that about wraps up the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like I said, I do plan on doing a couple more things to the G6 soon. I know you guys want more G6 content, this is one of those things that has been on the shelf for a while, specifically because I've needed a daily driver. But I'm really happy with how it turned out, and I think it looks really good. Driving at night's going to be a lot better now, because the dash is going to be a little bit more lit up than just the regular red lettering, which is kind of, you know, outdated for Pontiac. I think if they wouldn't have shut down in 2010, I think that they would have continued to upgrade the interiors of their vehicles. Mainly because that seemed to be a trend with GM in the early 2010s. They realized how outdated their cars were. When you look at, like, even the Impalas that were being made at the same time as the G6s, the big oval shaped ones, they made those till like 2012 or 13, I think, maybe even later, and their interiors were super outdated until the 2010s, and they really started updating them to make them a lot more present day technology, you know, make them look a lot more futuristic, or at least, you know, modern. I know that for Pontiac, the red interior has been a thing for decades before this car was made. But I just think that it's one of those things that contributed to Pontiac not being around anymore, which really sucks. I think that they could have kept going if they did small changes a little bit sooner. But yeah, I'm really happy with the gauge cluster. I've got some more things coming for the Q50 as well. Like I said, we ordered brakes. I'll film a short video like this one of installing the brakes. More as like a DIY than you know, anything else, but content's content. I think you guys like seeing the updates on the cars over time. I do plan on getting a new front lip for the Q50 because it's broken. It's been broken. I don't know if I showed that in the video revealing the Q50 or not, but I do plan on replacing that. I also want to get either a black or a carbon fiber rear spoiler, because there's nothing really in the back other than a small diffuser that's black to kind of match the theme of the car. It's mainly the body of the car is white and the accents are black, which is what makes the car look so good. So I'll eventually get that as well, and those aren't badly priced either, so I'll make a video once I get those parts. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. You can follow the Burnout Block at the Burnout Block on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If you did see on the Instagram, we canceled the spring order for merch. Nobody was really interested, unfortunately, which sucks because I kind of like those designs, but you know, people like what people like. So we're gonna make some more shirts for the summer order. I have a couple more designs that hopefully you guys will like. Check it out on our Instagram when I post it. I'll make sure to make an announcement post. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.